exploring ways to curb it. And this paper will be presented by Isah Ibrahim, Zaik, FFIS, Assistant Controller Immigration, Nigerian Immigration Service Headquarters, Abuja. Mr. Isah Ibrahim Zaik is actually present on site, and he's the Assistant Controller of Immigration in Abuja, like I mentioned before. Mr. Isah, are you ready for us? Mr. Isah, are you ready for us, huh? Okay. So you will be talking on fraud in forensic, exploring ways to curb it. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Isah Ibrahim Zaik. I'm an Assistant Controller of Immigration and the officer in charge of forensics and training in the Document Fraud Unit, Nigerian Immigration Service Headquarters, Abuja. I'm into forensic and I've been in this forensic for the past 17 years. Hands-on, not theoretically only, hands-on for the past 17 years. Hands-on, in practical terms. So the topic before me is a sub-theme that concerns every forensic examiner. And it will interest you to know that it is a topic that all hands must be on deck to see that we overcome the ethical issues that will be addressed in this topic. So I would have loved to share my slide, but I think they are still working on it. Maybe after working on it, you will see my slide. Now let me go straight to introduction. The topic is fraud in forensics, exploring ways to curb it. I have my presentation outlined here. Introduction, types of fraud committed by forensic examiner, some ways to curb fraud in forensics, professional skills of a forensic examiner, good qualities of a forensic examiner, some forensic tools and workstations. If I'm able to share my screen, you'll be able to see some tools and workstation to tell us that forensic is not only in theoretical aspects, but also in practical aspects. And it is not only in the scientific aspect, but also in the technological aspect. Because as a forensic examiner, you need to know how to handle certain forensic workstation. It's very important. Now, introduction. Fraud in forensics is a core ethical issue bedeviling the standards of professionalism in the field of forensic investigation. It is becoming a cankerworm eating deep into the fabrics of this indispensable discipline called forensics. Fraud is an act or cause of deception deliberately practiced to gain unlawful or unfair advantage. Such deception directed to the detriment of another. Anya came up with this definition of fraud. That is Anya 1993. So, fraud in forensics is intentional, not an error. There's a difference between fraud and error. If it is intentional, that is a fraud. But if it is unintentional, that is an error. But here we are talking about the intentional one, which is fraud. One who is supposed to safeguard something is the one that is destroying that thing. That is what we are talking about. Forensic examiners are supposed to be thorough, employing ethical standards in both collection of evidence, analysis, reporting, and presentation in the court of law. But in some cases, you observe that there are certain unethical behaviors involved in the execution of this forensic job. So because of that, we are urging our forensic examiners to be very ethical, to maintain ethical standard in this profession, because this profession called forensics is indispensable in our world today, not only in Nigeria, but the world at large. Now, fraud in forensics happens virtually in all the subfields. You can find fraud in forensics, fraud in forensic accounting and auditing, fraud in handwriting and signature analysis, fraud in forensic document examination, fraud in forensic computing analysis, fraud in forensic fingerprint analysis, fraud in forensic pathology or DNA profiling, among others. Fraud in forensics is perpetrated due to unethical practices. And these unethical practices are expected to be shown by all forensic examiners. Now, forensics, because we have fraud, I've defined fraud, now forensics. Forensics, on the other hand, is a multidisciplinary field which deals with the application of science and technology to law. Please, when defining forensic, don't say it is a scientific application. Don't say it's an application of science to law only. It has gone beyond that. It is the application of science and technology to law. Let's take note of this. By the time I share my screen, you will see those technological workstations that we use in forensic. So anytime we're defining forensic, please let's add the word technology, because it's an applied aspect of science. So forensics is the application of science and technology to law in order to solve criminal and civil litigations. At times, we only emphasize on criminal litigations, but we also have civil litigations, which are very important. For example, the issue of what dispute in what a land. It is not a criminal case; it's a civil case. So the forensic expert will analyze the land documents to see who really owns the land, the plot of land. So we always emphasize on criminal aspects, but we also have the civil aspect. So don't forget. We also have will agreement. Someone wrote a will note, and the person is no longer alive, and there's a dispute in between the family. So the will note will be given to a forensic expert to analyze. That is not a criminal litigation, but what? A civil litigation. So let's take note of that. We also have contract agreement too. Contract agreement papers can be analyzed by forensic experts. So these are civil issues. So in order to solve criminal and civil litigations, it is concerned with the investigation, documentation, collection, extraction using forensic tools. In digital forensics, we do extraction. You either extract the data in a mobile device, or you extract the data in a computer device. So we call it extraction. So we said extraction using forensic tools. Under forensically sound conditions. This is very important, because if you are doing extraction in forensic, it must be under a forensically sound condition. Otherwise, that may affect the admissibility of such evidence in the court of law. It also involves analysis, reporting, and presentation of findings in the court of law, maintaining what? Proper chain of custody. This is key, right from the scene of crime up to the laboratory up to what? The court of law. It's very important. Your chain of custody starts from the crime scene, or where that action happened, or where that incident took place. So in view of this, exploring ways to curb fraud in forensics is very important. And it is concerned with the various measures to be taken individually and collectively to fight against fraud in forensics, to maintain ethical standards in the profession. We must individually and collectively fight fraud in forensics so as to maintain the ethical standards in this great profession. Forensics is a great profession. And I once again congratulate you all for being part of this great profession. Exploring ways to curb fraud in forensics will positively contribute to the integrity and admissibility of evidence in a court of law. In recent years, some forensic practitioners have been embedding fraud in forensic. They've been embedding fraud in forensic examination, which is not good for us at all. It's not good for us. Analysis, reporting, presentation, and evidence collection. You see in the analysis of evidence, fraud will be embedded. In the reporting of evidence, fraud will be embedded. In the collection of evidence too, fraud will be embedded. This is not good. Let's shun fraud in forensics. Integrity is the key in this profession. Integrity is the key in forensics. And we must adhere to integrity because it is what gives the good name to a forensic examiner. It is the number one thing in this profession, integrity. Now, please, I'll be jumping because of time. Cases of fraud in forensics include, among others, let's look at these examples. False manipulation of financial instrument and data for personal gain. This is a fraud. This is a fraud. So a forensic examiner should stay away from this. 2, false placement of a rifle of the killer beside the dead body of the killed, conniving with the first responders to conceal facts. There are situations whereby the first responders that will rush to the scene of crime to cordon the area will now place a rifle beside the dead body so that it will assume that that person killed himself or herself. This is a fraud. It is not encouraged. Falsely attributing a killing to psychiatric problems. We have had these cases. Someone killed another person deliberately, but at the end, that person will be attributed to what? A psychiatric problem. And a psychiatric forensic, a forensic psychiatrist will now certify such a perpetrator as being having a psychiatric problem. It is a bad practice in forensic. That is a fraud. There's no how you can certify one who is not having any mental problem as been having a mental problem. It is a bad practice in forensic. Intentionally placing an incriminating evidence with a non-incriminating one, where we have incriminating evidence that will indict the perpetrator of such crime, such evidence will be replaced by a non-incriminating evidence so that that person will escape such a crime. And you observe that this is being what? Done by some forensic examiners. That is a fraud. Please, let's stay away from that. Deliberately expunging an incriminating part of a forensic report. You have done a forensic report based on your findings, and since you know that that report will indict the perpetrator, maybe due to one connivance or the other, then that incriminating aspect of the report will be expunged, will be removed before presenting it to the court of law. That is a fraud. Unfairly refusing to expose forensic findings as truly examined. Please, as forensic examiners, let's expose the findings the way it has been conducted. This is very important. Now, types of fraud committed by forensic examiner. Evidence tampering fraud. Tampering with evidence intentionally is a fraud. Report fabrication fraud. A report will be fabricated not based on what has been examined, but based on a different aspect so as to exonerate the perpetrator of such crime. It is a fraud. Expert witness fraud too. You see a situation whereby the expert witness will what? Present a fraudulent report in order to support the perpetrator of a crime. Please, let's stay away from that. We also have psychological fraud. There are situations whereby someone has committed a fraud in forensic while his colleague is trying to expose such fraud, and he will threaten his colleague that if you expose it, I will kill you. Or if you expose it, I will not give you fame. That is a psychological fraud. You are what? Instilling threat into such a person not to expose the fraud. We also have judgmental fraud. This is being committed by the lawyers and our judges. Judge, according to what the forensically sound report presented to you, as far as all the requirements of the law have been satisfied, please, lawyers and judges should what? Support that. Not to judge otherwise. So this is what we call what? Judgmental fraud. And we also have material testing fraud, which the engineers do. For example, we have a building collapse, and then an engineer, a forensic engineer has been employed to do a material testing of such building. Why did such building collapse? And he will connive with the owners of the building to tell them that all was well and nothing happened in the material used for the building in order to get either insurance benefit or so. This is a fraud. Not only the civil engineer, even the electrical engineer. Someone bought something, maybe an electrical appliance, took such electrical appliance to his house, not more than a day or two. Such electrical appliance became faulty. And when an electrical engineer who is a forensic expert, that is a forensic engineer in electrical and electronics, given such an assignment to do, will now connive. And they said the fault was from the user, not from the manufacturer. Or the fault was from the manufacturer, not from the user. So please, let's deliver this forensic report as truly examined. It is very important. So all these items that we have been mentioning is very important for a forensic examiner to take note, so that there will be integrity and ethical standards in forensics. Then we have factors responsible for fraud in forensics. We have bias. A biased mind will always do otherwise. Then we have bribery and corruption. Things have exchanged hands, and because of that, the report may not be presented as examined. Political influence too. There are cases that you do a forensic examination and reporting, then someone higher than you might say, that is not the way I want it. You must what? Change such a report. Please stand your ground. Do not do that. It is better for such a forensic case be assigned to another person, so that when such a person falsely manipulates the report, then it will be attributed to such a forensic examiner and not to you. Please stand your ground. This is very important. We have religious inclinations too. This one will say, this person belongs to my religion, because of that I will favor him. Or he belongs to the other religion, I will not favor him. A forensic examiner is not supposed to be in this line. It should be what? It should be fair in his forensic reporting. Nepotism or ethnic inclinations, professional incompetence. There are situations whereby someone is not qualified to handle a particular forensic case and he will claim to be qualified. And when you give him that case, he will mess it up. So this is forensic incompetence. And if you do that, that is a fraud, not an error, because you know that you are not qualified for such an examination. And you went ahead and did it the way you like. That is a fraud, not an error. Then we have some ways to curb fraud in forensics. These include both effective internal and external controls, such as regular forensic checks and balances. In any forensic organizations, the supervisors should always do regular checks and balances. It's very important so that when you see any leakage, you'll be able to block it immediately. Use of integrated method to assign duties. This is an effective way of controlling fraud in forensics. If in an organization or in your office, you know that someone is a forensic expert but fraudulent, he has such a fraudulent mind, he may not present the report as examined. So what you do is to assign such a forensic case to 2 or more forensic examiners, 2 or more, so that the other person, when he's trying to deviate from the real reporting format, then the other person might not agree. He may not second to that. So that is what we do. We do integrated method to assign duties. He alone can do it, but because we know that, yes, he is fraudulent, we'll now give it to 2 or 3 of them to do, so that when they are doing it together, the other person might not agree for such fraud to take place. Then we have pre-assessment and post-authentication. Do your pre-assessment, and then after the forensic examination, do your post-authentication to be sure that your pre-assessment matches with your post-authentication in order to eliminate fraud. Consulting colleague experts in analysis, fellow forensic examiners. This is very important. Forensic is not a one-man show. It is not a one-man show. If there's something you don't know, please consult your fellow forensic experts. There's no monopoly of knowledge. There's no monopoly of knowledge. Please, there's no monopoly of knowledge in forensics. Always consult your colleagues, even in court. This question, some judges used to ask this question during expert witness cross-examination in court, that this report or forensic report that you have done, did you consult any of the experts? Your fellow colleague experts, did you consult them? So it's very important. Consult your fellow colleague experts so that they will also give their own opinion regarding such forensic case. Then we have disciplinary action if fraud is perpetrated and detected. If one engages in fraud in forensic, please discipline such a person. Otherwise, other people will do same thing. But if you discipline the perpetrator, then it will act as a deterrent to others. Training and retraining is very important. Just like in this conference, when you attend conferences, you will what? Learn a lot. Don't think you know all. Attend forensic conferences. Do not underrate any forensic knowledge. It is very important. So you can attend either physically or online. This is very important. Remember, forensic is a continuous something. It is not something you can finish till the end of one's life. Because new things keep evolving, new technology, new forensic tools. So it is a continuous something. Don't stop learning. Continue learning. Then we have improved facilities, technology and automation. You know, the traditional way of a forensic examination due to automation and the technology is no longer applicable in some cases. So because we have technological devices that you can use for examination and it will generate report automatically. So technology and automation too will reduce fraud in forensic because the machine will do the work for you. So the perpetrator of such crime cannot change what the machine has generated automatically as the report. So that is why automation is very important. Whistleblower protection. If someone blows the whistle of one who has perpetrated fraud in forensic, please let's protect that whistleblower. Because if you don't protect whistleblowers, that means they will see and they will not blow. They will keep quiet because they will say, after all, if I say it now, then the repercussion will be on me. The other person will go scot-free. So please, let's protect whistleblower because when you blow whistle of fraud at times, if the person that perpetrated such a fraud is more powerful than you, then he will deal with you. So let the organization protect the whistleblower. This will also help in curbing fraud in forensic because if they know that, yes, some people will expose this fraud in forensics, then the perpetrators will not involve themselves. Compliance testing. Let's ensure that we are complying with the ethical standards. So from time to time, we should test the forensic work that we have been conducting. Separation of duties. Don't give this duty, forensic duty, to one person. Separate the duties. You will see in the situation, this person is the person that will keep the evidence. He owns the key to the store, and he will be the one to do the examination. He will be the one to present the report. Only him. Why won't he engage himself in fraud? Because he does all the work. So let there be what? Separation of duty. This separation of duty will make those in the chain of the separation of duty to kick against the wrong thing that the other person is doing. Then we have proper handling and taking over. Let there be proper documentation of handling and taking over of forensic either tools or evidence is very important. Timely investigation and analysis. We shouldn't delay forensic investigation. Let's do it immediately and analyze it. Adequate information and communication. This is key too. If there's any forensic issue, please let's communicate it so that those in the chain will be aware. Information is key. Then we have professional skills of a forensic examiner. My time is almost off, so let me go through it. Analytical skills, scientific knowledge, technical proficiency. Let's ask ourselves, how many forensic tools or workstation can you handle practically? This is very important. Let's ask ourselves, how many can you handle correctly and generate your forensic report? So, forensic, we know we have levels. We have the basic level, the intermediate level, the advanced level, and also the specialist level, which will make you an expert. So I will advise us that don't jump the basic level and go to the advanced level. You may not understand some basic things. So start from the basic level. Gradually, you ascend to the intermediate level, then to the advanced level, and the specialist level. Then we have paying attention to details, communications/forensic reporting skills. We learn these forensic reporting skills. We learn it. So let's learn it. Don't just write your report anyhow. We have standards of report writing, of forensic report writing. So let's learn it. It's very important. Problem solving skills. A forensic examiner to be able that this kind of forensic this approach is very important. Don't go that is required. We have different approaches to forensic cases. So use the appropriate approach, that is the round peg in the round hole. Then we have time management, ethical. You should be able to judge between what is good and what is bad, what is correct and what is wrong. We have basic knowledge of law. This is very important. At times you might do a good examination, forensic examination, good report writing, but you have violated human rights. So that will affect your report in the court of law because you have not applied this basic knowledge of law. So as well doing our forensic, please let's be conscious of the law. Let's be conscious of the law. Do not violate human rights law. Do not do that. Otherwise, even if you have done it perfectly, it will still affect the admissibility of your evidence in the court of law. Then we also have investigative skills, interpersonal/public relations skills. Please relate well as a forensic examiner, relate well with others. This is very important. Otherwise, you may not get information at times. If you don't relate well, informants will not come and give you information that will aid in your forensic investigation. Environmental/hazards consciousness. If you are conducting your forensics, be conscious of the environment. Otherwise, something will come and harm you. So be conscious of the environment where you are undertaking that forensic, particularly in a crime scene. First of all, study the environment before you talk about collection of evidence. Otherwise, maybe some people are hidden somewhere and they are waiting for you to come and collect the evidence so that they can attack you. Please be very conscious of that. And even in the court too, at times you might debate with some lawyers during cross-examination and they may not be happy. I'm telling you from a practical experience. They may not be happy and they can find a way of dealing with you. So you don't expose yourself. You come to a place, someone will ask you in a court, which hotel are you? And you start telling the person as a forensic examiner. You are doing the wrong thing. Don't tell them where you are. Because if that will become a threat, then they will go straight to your hotel. So be very careful of these things. So environment/hazard consciousness. Before coming to this place, since yesterday, in fact, when I came, I studied this area first. I studied it, but I'm just telling you because you didn't know. So that is what a forensic expert should do. Don't just go into a place like that without studying the place. I studied it first. So if you are going to a court, don't think the court is a public place and nothing will happen. Don't assume that. Don't assume in that manner. Study any court I go to, I will study it first to see, in case if there's anything, which area or which place is the shortest route to escape. You have to do such studies because anything can happen. So that is why you're a forensic examiner. Then we also have expert witnessing skills. We learn this skill. Don't just go to the court like that. Before I start going to court, I understudied some people, some forensic experts. I understudied them. You don't just jump into court as a forensic examiner and think you will win such expert witness. You have to learn the technicalities of cross-examination first by understudying experts. When they are going to court, follow them to the court. Okay, the screen is up now. I think they can see it. Okay, so the screen is up. I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, okay, okay. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Now, good qualities of a forensic examiner. Though they say my time is off, but let me do this. These include integrity and ethical standards, logical and critical thinking. As a forensic expert, you should have enough in your upstairs. It's very important. Humility, be humble. Be humble. Humility is very important in forensics because if you are humble, it will help you. If you are not humble, some experts might not correct you. So humility is very important. Not a too much noise maker / misbehavior. If you're too much noise maker, you will go to court and display same, and you might fail such expert witnessing expert witnessing defense. So please don't talk too much, because if you do that, it will be your habit. And you will go to court and display same. You may not know because it is coming from your inner aspect. So let's minimize our noise making and misbehavior, because lawyers will always make you angry in the court. It's because of time. If not, I could have narrated one incident, but there's no time. They will make you angry. Don't feel anything. Even if he said, yes, I could remember the report I got that you did so bad one certain time, this and that. Let him prove it. It is not something you say, me, this and that. That was what happened in a particular case. And he became furious. He started punching out irrelevancies in the court. And that affected his case. So lawyers can make you angry. They want you to say anything. Because when you're angry, you say anything. So please calm yourself down. Nothing should make you angry in the court. Even if he said you have committed so, he will say, okay, prove it. Prove it. That is it. But that should not make you angry. Next slide. Okay. Next slide, because of time. Let's go to this. Some forensic tools and workstations. I want to show them some things. Then after this is conclusion. Okay. 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 So because of time, let me go to some forensic tools and workstations. These tools will have the handheld lamp, in which I have the photograph here. Then we have the magnifying glass, the dactyloscopic magnifier, which is used for what? For examining the fingerprint pattern. Then we have the regular compact device. This is 3-in-1. It has white light, UV light, and a magnifier. Then we have the digital microscope. You connect this to your laptop, then you use it to examine your evidence. Then we have the mobile workstation, which is used for reading documents. We use it for reading documents, like the international passport. You use it and it will read what is in the chip so that you'll be able to compare it with what is on the biodata page. Then we have the VSC 6000. Then we also have the latest one, which is VSC 9000. VSC means spectral comparator. Video spectral comparator. It is used to analyze fraudulent documents and handwriting, also signature. Then we have the DVM. Okay, let me. Okay. So, and other forensic devices. Conclusion. Forensics is very crucial in the criminal justice system alongside civil litigations. Therefore, a forensic examiner is expected to detect fraud and not to be fraudulent or criminal-minded in terms of forensic evidence protection, collection, packaging, transportation, storage, handling, examination, reporting, presentation, and expert testimony in the court of law. Fraud in forensics is intentionally done for personal gains, and actionable measures must be taken to curb it. Proper evidence collection and handling devoid of fraud from the scene of crime to the laboratory for analysis up to the presentation in the court of law are a good quality of a forensic expert. Thank you so much.